Hi, everyone. Welcome back. I'm Michael Sandler, your host on Inspire Nation. If you've had a challenging 2020 or before, then do we have the Transforming Trauma show for you. Today, I'll be talking with Dr. James S. Gordon, Harvard educated psychiatrist, world transformer, the tamer of trauma, although he's probably never heard himself called that before, and the author of 10 important life changing books, including the must read Transforming Trauma. And that's just what I want to talk with him about today, about the top signs you have trauma and a path to healing and hope. That plus we'll talk about imagining a lemon, the power of soft belly, three monks and fireworks, stressed and dessert, wise guys and Bambis, pounding pillows, and what in the work chaotic breathing in a barn has to do with anything. So welcome back to the show, Jim. Are you ready to shine?
I am ready to both take on your reflected light and shine my own. So thank you, Michael. Good to
Woohoo!
be here with you.
Thank you so much, Jim. So before we dive right into things, would you say we all have trauma from 2020?
Everybody I've run across everywhere is feeling the effects. Yes. And they're coming out, the effects of that trauma, the universal trauma. It's not just us here in the United States, of course, it's the whole planet that's been traumatized this last year.
Is it all large traumas? Because we don't have to go there, but you lost a dear brother this past year. But we all seem to have traumas large and small. Are they still traumas if they're not massive events?
I think that for me, and in my experience of working with trauma around the world for the last 30 years, is it's not so helpful to distinguish which trauma is greater or which trauma is less.
Yep.
The important thing to understand is that trauma sooner or later will come to all of us. If not early in life or in midlife, it'll come when we grow old and frail and deal with the loss of people we love and deal with our own impending death. Trauma is a part of life. And right now, this last year, trauma has become a part of everyone's life. And I think, yes, of course, it's greater and more overwhelming if half a dozen members of your family and close friends have died from COVID 19. And I have friends who've had that happen to them. It is greater than if you're simply indoors and having to deal with your kids. I say simply, it's not so simple, and having to
Yeah.
deal with your kids trying to learn on screens and getting irritated and frustrated. But the important thing is that we are all dealing with trauma and that we can all recognize it. We can all pay attention to the signs and symptoms, and we can all learn these self care techniques to deal with the trauma that we're having. And what I
Th-
found,
Yeah.
and your question's an important one, what I found is that people who've experienced greater losses do not think they are, do not sort of pride themselves on being more traumatized or worse off. They are concerned with dealing with what they're experiencing. And they are also, when I talk with them, they're also interested in what I'm experiencing and what other people are experiencing, because this is universal and we're all in it together.
Thank you. And we're going to dive at the very end. We're going to do a soft belly meditation to help people start to soften some of this trauma. With that said, you mentioned signs and symptoms. I want to go there in just a moment. However, if we look at some of the top myths when it comes to trauma, one of them, maybe the biggest one, is that I am stuck with this. I have no idea, other way to put it. I'm screwed for life because of this trauma.
Yeah, that is a myth, and that is what many people believe, and that has happened to people. I mean, this is the kind of history that some of us may remember from fathers, uncles, grandfathers who came home from a war, World War II, Korea, Vietnam, and were, quote, never the same. The trauma came, it was there, and it stayed with them even when the traumatic events had passed.
Yeah.
However, what I have seen working intensively with trauma over the last 30 years, it is that it is possible to move through and beyond the trauma that we have experienced, and that just about everybody can do it. And it's hardest, I would say, hardest if we've been traumatized long, regularly, and horribly as small children. So it's become so much a part of our being, and then it's harder to shed the effects. And it can happen there. And some of the people I write about in Transforming Trauma were horribly abused as children. And they are now, they've used the method that I teach in Transforming Trauma, as well as other approaches along with them. And they are extraordinary people. They're full of life and kindness and joy. So it is possible. I know it is possible to move beyond even the most grave trauma.
Thank you. So before we're going to spend the majority, the meat of today on how we can move past trauma. However, you've worked in war zones, including the Middle East, including Bosnia, and some other horrific, terrific places, terrific people, horrific circumstances. What are some of the, you mentioned signs and symbols. What are some of the top signs and symptoms of trauma?
Well, I think I'll be happy to answer the question. And what I would suggest to anyone who's listening to us, is that they can pay attention to what's going on with them during this pandemic. So virtually everyone I know describes having days, if not weeks and months, of being more anxious, more irritable, harder to get along with, having difficulty focusing, having difficulty sleeping. Those are all signs and symptoms of trauma. Those reflect the prolongation of a fight or flight response, which is meant to protect us from a threat, prolonging it during a chronic threat, the chronic threat of the pandemic, of the political divisiveness, of the anxiety about the future. So those are classical signs of trauma. And many people are also experiencing kind of low energy, depression, lethargy, difficulty connecting with other people, even people they have access to on screens or in their own home. And these are also signs and symptoms of trauma. In this case, it's the freeze response.
Yeah.
So that when trauma comes and it feels overwhelming and inescapable, we may, in addition to fight or flight, we may have periods of just shutting down emotionally and withdrawing. And when that continues, we feel exhausted when we've had a perfectly good night's sleep, or we don't feel like being close to other people, or we can't feel the way we used to feel. Those are also signs of trauma.
Thank you. Is there one in poker? There's something called a tell. A tell is like you rub underneath your eye, you rub your nose, you put your hands together, something that says what I'm saying and doing are in conflict. I'm lying to you. Is there a tell that people may not be aware of that you see somebody and you go, oh, that's clearly trauma?
You know, I think the crucial thing is that people become aware of it in themselves, that they become aware of these um, divergences from the way they ordinarily are. We were having a check in with staff this morning, and one
Yeah.
of our young staff said, I think I'm more irritated with people than I've ever been in my life. She's got it. She's right. That's a sign. I haven't seen her be irritated with me. I haven't seen any particular sign. I think sometimes we will see them if we're close to people, that we will see them be more agitated, more aggravated, more impatient, or we will see them withdrawing, but it's going to be different. This manifests, the physiological reaction is very similar, but the way it manifests is different in each person. And what tends to happen, so this is a good question, what tends to happen is that if you're generally an aggressive, excitable person, that will be increased. If you're a kind of withdrawn, shy person, and you've been traumatized and are going through this time, you're likely to be more withdrawn, more shy.
Thank you. That's huge. So let's go. We're going to take the rest of this time on ways that we can help people with trauma. And when I work with people in coaching or with classes, with groups, and right now there's a lot of trauma going on, I do a lot of drawing work. And I've heard it from you before. I need to go there again. It is so profound. If you could tell us briefly the story of Azar Jandia and the first set of drawings you had her do and the second set of drawings.
Sure. The way I use drawings in transforming trauma, and the way I and Center for Mind Body Medicine have used it all over the world, is we have people do drawings very early on when we meet with them. And so what we asked Azar, who was a 9-year-old girl in Gaza, 9-year-old Palestinian girl, and she was in a group of 8 children, all of whose fathers had been killed in the 2014 war between Hamas and Israel. So all these kids, boys and girls, had lost their dads in that war. And we asked them all in the first group, draw yourself with your biggest problem, and
Yeah.
draw yourself with your problem solved. So in this particular group, which was led by an elementary school teacher in Gaza, Azar combined the first two drawings. So she drew herself, uh, and it was a big drawing. And in the drawing, there was a building falling down. Next to the building was a body lying on the ground, drenched in red. Two other bodies similarly lying there on the ground next to that one, and then a fourth body a little further away. And I said, what's that? And Azar said, that's my home. It was destroyed. My father was killed during the war. Next to him are my two uncles and my aunt. They also died. Up above in the drawing are Israeli planes bombing the home. And then off in a corner of the drawing, Azar draws herself, and she's a tiny little stick figure with her mouth turned down. And this is a combination of drawing herself with her biggest problem, which is the deaths of her father, her two uncles, her aunt, and the destruction of her home. The solution to her biggest problem, which was the
So,
third drawing,
yeah.
she drew herself in a coffin in the grave with her father. She said, the only solution to my problem is to die, to have the Israelis kill me, for me to die and be in the grave with my father. That way I can be together with him again. That's how she began, a despairing 9-year-old girl who was ready to die. She did guided mental imagery, the soft
Yeah.
belly breathing, the shaking and dancing, all the techniques that I teach in transforming trauma, or many of those techniques. At the end of 9 groups, she and the other children did another set of drawings. And this time, after practicing these techniques, with no one saying to her, you have to change or you have to do this, just her own growing understanding of what was possible for her and of her relaxing physiologically with the soft belly breathing and being able to use her imagination and shaking loose some of her stress and trauma and using the other imaginative techniques. In the final group, in her first drawing, she was a big girl occupying much of the page. She was wearing a skirt. There were brown curls coming down on either side of her face, big smile on her face. There was an arrow from her chest, and it went through a heart. And in the heart that it went through,
Yeah.
uh, read in English, I love nature. She was learning English in school. And the arrow was
Woohoo.
heading for a tree with blossoms on it, tree in full bloom. Totally different picture. Now, the second drawing was, and who do you hope to be? How would you like to be? And so she drew herself in a white coat with a stethoscope in her ears, and the resonator that picks up sounds of the stethoscope was on the chest of a figure lying on a table. And I said, what's going on here, Azar? And she said, I am a heart doctor. In Gaza, after the war, so many people's hearts are hurting and they need help.
Wow.
I am a heart doctor. I'm helping my patient. And then I saw next to the table, there were 5 other figures. And I said, who are these? And she said, oh, those are my other patients. They're waiting for me. Just
Woohoo.
total transformation of this girl.
So let's dive in. Thank you so much for sharing. We'll dive in quickly because I know time is of the essence today into some of these techniques. And you say meditation should be the treatment of choice. Why is that? And we're going to do the soft belly meditation at the end. But what is meditation doing for people?
The reason we're anxious and agitated and we can't think straight and we have trouble getting along with other people, it's on a physiological level. Our brain has been disturbed. So the area of our brain called the amygdala, the center of fear and anger, is firing off like crazy. And the areas of our brain that are responsible for thoughtful decision making and self awareness and compassion are suppressed. Meditation reverses that process. It quiets activity, quiets the fear and anger in the amygdala. It enhances activity in our frontal cortex, makes it easier for us to use our intelligence, use our imagination, to be self aware. So that's the beginning, and that's foundational to healing trauma. So it should be
Yeah.
part of whatever other techniques you're using. Meditation should be part of what you're doing. And I want to also add, we'll do one kind of meditation. There are many kinds of meditation that were created in different societies for different purposes. Any of them can be useful.
What do you tell people who are going to listen to this, and I can hear their minds going right now, who say, yeah, I want some real activities I can do, and then they'll skip past this very point of meditation and go to what's next?
50 years ago, I went to a class to learn basic shamatha Tibetan meditation practice, sitting for 40 or 50 minutes, paying attention to my thoughts, sitting straight up, cross-legged. After 10 minutes, I was ready to jump out of my skin. After 5 minutes, to be totally honest, I couldn't do it. But I could do active, expressive meditations. And so I was able to do fast, deep breathing, chaotic breathing. I was able to do shaking and dancing to move my body. And I was able to do that, free myself from much of the stress, and come into that same relaxed moment to moment awareness that quiet meditation would, some years later, also give me.
Eva, you had a teacher who told you to do 40 minutes a day of chaotic breathing. You kept putting it off and putting it off. What was this technique?
Well, that's when I asked him, when I got up my nerve to say, Sham, that was his name. He was an Indian Kashmiri teacher. I said, Sham, I didn't say it as boldly as that. Sort of nervously, I said, Sham, what kind of meditation should I do? And he looked at me and he said, you remember that chaotic breathing? And I went, oh my God. I said, yeah, I do. He said, 40 minutes a day. I said, you're kidding. He looked at me and he said, no, baby, I am not kidding. Do it. You asked, now do it. So chaotic breathing
Yeah.
is very fast, deep breathing in and out through the nose that you do by raising your arms up and bringing your arms down to your side, your elbows down to your side, breathing as fast and as deep as possible, in and out through the nose. If you do it in through the mouth or out through the mouth, you'll hyperventilate. So I wound up doing, I don't recommend anybody else starting with 40 minutes a day. I'd been practicing some of these techniques for some time. Um, Chaotic breathing, you have to modify if your shoulder dislocates or you have very high blood pressure or you've had neck injury or metastases to your spine or a heart attack. Then you have to not do lifting your arms up and bringing them down like a crazed chicken flapping its wings.
Well,
You
I
just,
have a service chicken. That's what I wanted to show you, my service rooster, before we went on air. But,
ah,
but because I may be the only person in the history of this planet who has a service rooster, but I get it. Can you show us a very brief
can people
demonstration
see
of
me
this?
on the screen?
Yes.
Fantastic. Then let me see if I need to back up a little. Is this okay? And so on. I can feel a little more energy, a little more ease with my body.
Yeah.
So when I'm quiet afterwards, I can focus a little better. And when music comes on, my body moves more freely.
What does that? And I may have you stand up one more time for people if you don't mind. Would you mind demonstrating what shaking and dancing
All right.
looks like for us?
All right. Shaking. You can't see my head very well. But all shaking is you put your feet shoulder width, bend
Yep.
your knees a little, and
Yep.
you just start shaking up from your feet through your knees and hips and chest and shoulders. Anybody can do this, and no restrictions on this. And you just keep shaking. And again, start with 5 or 6 minutes. Shake to your capacity. If you can't get out of a chair or you're in a wheelchair, shake in a wheelchair. We've done this with amputees who are in wheelchairs. If you're in a hospital bed, you can do it. So shake for 5 or 6 minutes. Again, a couple minutes of just standing and relaxing, and then letting your body move to music that moves you, music that's energizing and inspiring. Very simple technique. Again, the whole script is in Transforming Trauma, and it's something, sometimes if you don't have much time and you're feeling anxious, like my medical students at Georgetown before an exam,
Yep.
when they were having in-person exams, they'd go in the men's room, the women's room, they'd close the stall, they'd start shaking for 3 minutes. They're tense. Then they go in the exam, their mind's clearer, they're not so uptight. So it's very, very useful. This is a great technique to do at the beginning of the day, particularly if you're low energy at the beginning of the day, to get you up for the day and let loose some of the anxiety that you may have. And it's great at the end of a day, too. Finish with work, and before you greet your family or whoever you happen to be living with or do your evening activities, let go of the day's tension.
Thank you. Another one. I'm having fun with these techniques. So we'll continue down this road here. Ha 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 ha. What can you tell us about forced laughter?
Laughing. Yeah, laughter. The Reader's Digest, which is still sort of hanging around somewhere. The Reader's Digest used to be enormously popular. And the Reader's Digest, every issue, they said, laughter is the best medicine. And it was kind of a cliche, but it's true. Laughter is very powerful. And laughter is full body laughter. It's not he, 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 he. It's ha, 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 ha.
That's good.
My whole body is moving into it. And laughter, what it does is it breaks up fixed patterns in the body, like other kinds of expressive meditations, like shaking and dancing or chaotic breathing. But it also, it relaxes us, it improves our mood, and it gives us some perspective. One of the deep problems during this pandemic, yes, it's serious. Yes, people are dying and we need to pay attention and do something. But that doesn't mean we have to be deadly serious all the time. That doesn't help us. The more we're able to feel buoyant and happy, the better our immune system's going to be. So the more down and out we are, the more susceptible we are to COVID-19. The more in balance, the more energized, the more full of life we are. We're equipping ourselves as best we can. We're maximizing the functioning of our immune system, and it will help us not only live more easily and happily and be nicer to other people, but it will also enhance our immune functioning. And there have been a whole bunch of studies done on laughter and immune functioning.
Is there some certain type of movement, aerobic, lifting weights, beating up on a pillow? Is there something that is best that gets the body out of that fight or flight response?
I think it's really depending on what's going on. If you're angry and feeling frustrated, pounding pillows is a terrific one. If you're feeling pretty good, you may want to dance. If you're feeling inhibited and sort of shut down, just start stretching. There's infinite variety of movements. Any movement that feels congenial to you. And if we start the whole process, really, and this is why soft belly breathing is important, the whole process really has to do with tuning into what do I need now? And that's going to vary from day to day and from person to person.
Thank you. In fact, that segues nicely. I want to talk about the Wise Guide. We have a book called Automatic Writing, the Automatic Writing Experience, where you go quiet each morning, you tune in, you talk to your inner guides, and you ask, what do I need to know today? It sounds similar in a sense to your Wise Guide, and that tapping in can help us to heal. What's the Wise Guide?
Wise guide is a name that we give to our intuition, our imagination, to that part of ourselves that knows better than our conscious mind. Our conscious mind is beautiful,
Yeah.
the intelligence that we can use for problem solving. But certain kinds of problems, particularly personal problems that we have, we get tied in knots. How do I relate to this situation with my partner? Or I'm worried about the future. And and I don't know what's going to happen with the economy or what's going to happen with my kids given what they're going through. The answers to those questions can come if we create a situation in which we're relaxed, we're balancing our physiology and our psychology, let's say with slow, deep, soft belly breathing. And then we sit and imagine that we're in a safe or comfortable place. And we allow a guide to come to us. We allow a person who comes from our imagination or from a book or a scripture or an animal appears, and that person or animal, that being, represents our imagination, our intuition, our unconscious, that part of ourself that knows better or at least differently from our conscious mind. And this is a very ancient understanding. This is part of shamanic practice, part of the practice of indigenous healers the world
Yeah.
over. The psychiatrist Carl Jung brought it into modern medicine and modern psychiatry and
Yeah.
psychology. And it's very simple. Anyone can learn to use the Wise Guide. I have a complete script for the Wise Guide in transforming trauma. It may take a couple times before you connect with the guide, and then you have a dialogue with the guide. You say, well, you know what, I don't know. I don't know what to do next. I don't know how to deal with the time limit here that I have that I have in talking with Michael. How am I going? And my wise guide says, "Oh, relax. Michael knows when the show has to be over. He'll take care of it. And if he doesn't, you can say something." So what my wise guide told me in just that moment is relax in this moment and see what happens. But that's much better than worrying. Is he going to do it? Isn't he going to do it? So the wise guide is a really kind of is a deep intelligence that all of us have, down to kids Azar's age. 9 years old, she was using the wise guide to help her figure things out.
Thank you. And I've got 7.5 minutes to play with. So, three last questions. Then we're going to 5 minutes of soft belly breathing. What do we do when oh my God, Jim's got to get off in 7.5 minutes? I'm seeing red. I've been triggered.
What do we do about what? What's there to do something
What do you do when somebody's been triggered, Jim?
I, I'm doing. This is reminding us of an eternal truth. Do something that you can do something about. Don't worry about what you can't do anything about, and see what unfolds, and then deal with that situation. The whole point of developing a meditative mind is to be present in the moment.
Thank you. Where can people go to find your beautiful book, Jim, and to find out more?
Well, the best thing to do is to take a look. You have a copy. Show them a copy of Transforming Trauma. They can see it.
Right here,
Yeah.
which we'll also
Best
put
thing
up on the screen.
You can buy it on Amazon. You can buy it anywhere where you buy books. So the whole program is in Transforming Trauma. If people want to learn more about how we're bringing this work out into the world in places where there have been wars or climate-related disasters or school shootings or the opioid epidemic, or right now, we're bringing this out all over the United States. We have all of our training programs online. We have online groups at the Center for Mind Body Medicine, cmbm.org. People can look on there. They can see demonstrations of some of these techniques. And the book is, I don't know, $15 or so on Amazon. So the idea is anybody is welcome and anybody can use these tools and techniques.
Thank you. CM Charlie Michael Bravo Michael.org. On that note, any last words of wisdom before we dive into a soft belly meditation?
Just be open the way you're being open, Michael, on the show. Be open to new
Thank you.
experiences. Use transforming trauma as a guidebook to put together a comprehensive program that suits you, because we're all different and each of us is going to put together a different program.
Thank you, thank you, thank you. And would you mind leading us in about 5 minutes? I know you've got to scoot out the door in just a tiny bit.
I will. I'm going to do soft belly breathing. Now, there are three basic kinds of meditation. There's concentrated meditation, focusing on a sound or an image. Repetitive prayers are also technically concentrated meditations. Soft belly breathing, we're going to concentrate on the breath coming in through the nose and out through the mouth, on the feelings of our belly being soft and relaxed, and on the word soft as we breathe in, belly as we breathe out. Concentrated meditations, maybe 8,000 years old as far as we know. Next kind is mindfulness meditation, becoming aware of thoughts, feelings, sensations as they arise. Third kind of meditation are the expressive meditations that you like, Michael, and that we've been doing, the laughing, the shaking and dancing, the fast, deep breathing. These are the oldest meditations on the planet. We have images of them from 35,000 years ago in the caves in the south of France with the humans dancing with the animals. All of them are useful. I like soft belly breathing, and that's a fundamental technique because it brings us very easily, very simply into physiological and psychological balance. So we'll do this just for a few minutes now.
Yeah.
Sit comfortably in your chair. Good idea to close your eyes and remove all external stimulation. Breathe deeply in through your nose and out through your mouth with your belly soft and relaxed. Focusing on the breath coming in through your nose and out through your mouth. On the feeling of your belly softening and relaxing. And on the word soft as you breathe in and belly as you breathe out. Breathing slowly and deeply like this, in through the nose and out through the mouth with the belly soft and relaxed. More air goes to the bottom of our lungs. More oxygen goes from our lungs into our bloodstream, and that oxygen provides better nutrition to all the cells in our body. Breathing slowly and deeply like this, in through the nose and out through the mouth, activates the vagus nerve. That's vagus. Vagus means wandering in Latin. And when this big nerve, which runs from the belly up through the chest, back to the central nervous system, to the brain, when it's activated, it quiets the body, lowers heart rate, lowers blood pressure, relaxes the big muscles, improves digestion. It quiets activity in the amygdala, that portion of the emotional brain responsible for fear and anger. And breathing slowly and deeply in through the nose and out through the mouth, and activating the vagus nerve increases activity in the frontal part of our cerebral cortex. So we're less angry, less fearful. We're able to think more clearly, to be more self-aware, to be more compassionate, and to connect more easily with other people. And as we breathe like this, slowly and deeply in through the nose and out through the mouth, our muscles all the muscles in our bodies begin to relax. And you can feel that with each exhalation, beginning with the feeling of relaxation in our bellies and our pelvis and our buttocks. As we exhale, feeling the relaxation in our legs and feet, and our back, chest and shoulders relaxing as we exhale. Feeling the relaxation in our arms and hands. And in the muscles of our neck and face and head. Feeling those muscles relax as we exhale. Feeling our whole body relax with each exhalation. Focusing on the breath coming in through the nose and out through the mouth. On our belly being soft and relaxed. And on the word soft as we breathe in. And belly as we breathe out. If thoughts come, let them come. Notice them, let them go. Gently bring your mind back to soft belly. Okay, let's open our eyes and bring our attention back in the room. And notice any change that may have come about. I know I'm more relaxed. You look more relaxed.
Jello.
This is what soft belly is about. It's about bringing us into this state of relaxed moment-to-moment awareness that's meditation. And as we do it, we are discovering not only that we're calmer, but we're discovering that we can do something to help ourselves, which is crucial during this time of overwhelming stress and trauma of the pandemic. So I've got to leave now, Michael. It's a pleasure once again to be with you. And Soft Belly has set me up for what I have to do in the next 10 minutes. So thank you for inviting me to do it.
You're so welcome. So for everyone out there, this is Michael Sandler saying, be well, have fun, get transforming trauma, and begin transforming your trauma today. And above and beyond all else, shine bright. Woohoo! I hope you're feeling as relaxed now as I am after the soft belly breathing with Jim Gordon. And I loved his exercise on finding your inner guides and finding that one guide who can guide and help you and heal you through this process. That's why we wrote Automatic Writing. How's that for a segue? Automatic Writing Experience, is a way to tap into your inner wisdom, to find your guide, to get guidance, to get healing, to find your purpose, your path, your direction in life, and to help you to heal as well. You can find this at Amazon. You can ask for it at any of your local booksellers. You can also get the video-based program, Automatic Writing, called the Automatic Writing Experience, at automaticwriting.com. To check out more incredible transformative healing videos, click here. Be sure to subscribe below and click on the bell icon to be notified of upcoming shows, YouTube premieres, and live events with me. Love you guys so, so much. Big thumbs up if you enjoyed this. Share, share, share. Shine bright. Woohoo! Love you guys.